Hey, yo, what's up, everybody, and welcome to Interviews, the show where we take people, places, and things and give you an interview of who we have. And today we have Mary Keefe joining us on our very first episode. Welcome.
I'm honored.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Yeah, it's our first episode ever of Interviews, and welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Manny. I'm really happy to be here.
Representative of 15th Worcester District?
That's right.
Huh? You like that, right? Yeah. Listen, I worked hard on that. A little bit of research.
Yeah.
But welcome to the show. It's so great to have you.
Yeah.
And as you know, we are here to basically just let the community know all the great things that are happening in and around Worcester and whatever area that we happen to be in. Today, it is with you talking about criminal justice, because that's one of the things that you champion on up on the hill, right?
Yeah.
Beacon Hill.
Yeah.
How's that office? How's that view?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. You
It's
got a
really
corner
nice.
office? Yeah.
Do I have what?
Corner office? What
Oh no, I had a small, back in that period of time, I had a small office that was in the West Wing. But it was beautiful. I could look out my window, I could see the governor's office, I could see the Golden Dome, and I could see the protesters who were down in front on Beacon Street.
That's important.
Yelling. I could hear them, like I was like, oh, who's out there today?
Good to know. Good to know, protesters. They can hear you. That's a really good thing to know.
Yeah.
So I know you got a lot of things going on right now, particularly surrounding criminal justice reform. Tell me a little bit about that, and what's your most important topic that you're facing right now?
Well, we just finished passing or filing new legislation for the upcoming session. So we just started a new session. I was sworn in on January 4th. And so that means 2 years of processing potential laws through the hearing process, the committee process, the hearing process, and then advancing hopefully through Ways and Means to be actually voted on by the larger body, both the House and the Senate. And that's how we move it forward to become law. It takes a long time. There was some urgency around criminal justice reform that really came out of an organization that came in and looked at what was happening in Massachusetts and how we fared with the rest of the nation. And out of that research, there was a real compelling mandate to us as legislators to make some changes. So those changes were passed in a very large bill in 2018, which I was one person out of many that championed that bill. For me, that bill was so important because of the impact it has on my constituents. So not only people that are incarcerated right now, but people that might be returning or have a loved one that's incarcerated. So the impact on our community is very real. So that's what drew me into trying to think about what kind of changes could make a difference for people. So you're asking me about now, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So.
But it's good to have, where you came from to know where we're going.
Yeah. So a lot of what we passed in the bill, and I know you want to talk about this at one point, really isn't getting implemented. And so we have, since 2018, kind of been in a little bit of a struggle with the Department of Corrections about why aren't you doing some of the things that this bill is requiring you to do. So I just leave it at that. So it's not just passing a law, but then it's making sure that the law is actually followed and implemented.
Accountability.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you're gonna have the sheriff here. So the sheriffs are not in the Department of Corrections. They're their own entity, sort of a vestige of county government. They're House of Corrections as opposed to Department of Corrections. So that's
Can you break down the difference on that a little bit for me?
Well, so Governor Healy, for instance, is going to assign somebody to be the director of, or the secretary of the Department of Corrections. The sheriffs aren't under that umbrella. So a lot of what we pass as legislation that we want the Department of Corrections to implement the sheriffs aren't held to that same
And-
standard.
Yeah, and that's really important to know because it can be real confusing, especially amongst, regular people like me who's just trying to vote for the
Right.
best interest of my community, thinking that I'm helping pass a law for the Department of Corrections that has no impact at all on my loved one that may be in the House of Corrections.
Right.
So your department versus, it's almost, let's say we have the physical place where, inmates or people who break the law end up at
Yeah.
the House of Corrections
Right.
versus the Department of Corrections, which is where all the rules and
Yeah.
all the technicalities are made.
I'm really glad you're having some of your other guests on here because they know the court systems better than I do. I'm a graduate of Mass College of Art and a community organizer.
Great school, by the way.
Oh, awesome.
And
Awesome.
art is an amazing thing. I don't think we could live life without it.
Sometime we should talk about that too.
All right. Yeah, we'll have him back on for an art show.
Yeah. But anyway, so to understand the court systems and how it works,
Yeah.
that's a big learning curve. And if you've been a prosecutor, I think you've been on that side where you can see how things are or aren't working. Whereas I haven't really had that experience. I've had to kind of learn it as it goes along. So.
Right.
But if you are arrested and you are not allowed to have bail, or you are considered dangerous for whatever reason, then you can be held in the House of Correction until your trial. And there's a certain amount of months that is allowed. So you're not guilty, you're not innocent, but you're being incarcerated,
Right.
awaiting trial.
Right.
So that's pretty hard.
That is
Yeah,
hard.
Yeah.
And why should you have to lose your freedom, access to your family, your job even, and whatever
Right.
other repercussions that come down the road,
Right.
all because of an accusation or
Right.
you
There
were
hasn't been a
arrested.
court ruling on,
Right.
whether you're innocent or guilty of the charges, yet you've been arraigned and, for whatever reason, the judge has decided that you're gonna do your waiting time in the House of Correction.
And that could be real disparaging to certain communities as well, because I don't know about y'all out there, but I can't afford a lawyer. So I
Yeah.
get the court-appointed lawyer who goes to lunch with the prosecutor, and I gotta try to hope that this
Right, and
court-appointed
you
lawyer is
can't
really working in
afford-
my favor.
And you can't afford bail, right?
And no, I certainly can't afford bail.
Yeah.
I can't
So-
afford the lawyer. I'm not affording the bail.
So this is a lot of the lens that we looked at, around that bill in 2018.
Yeah.
Where people from certain communities, the courts were much harder on, and less flexibility around getting through something that is just really hard.
So
for
what's the
families.
answer to that? Because obviously we need to navigate a way for us to duly process people that are being accused of crimes, right? Because we don't want to let dangerous people just out on the street, but we also don't want people who, are actually innocent, but
Right.
just got wrong place, wrong time, wrong place, wrong time situation, end up losing a really good chunk of their lives.
Yeah.
And fighting and money. It's not cheap to go through the criminal justice system either.
So, I think one of the biggest disappointments for me in learning about our systems and how they are actually impacting people that are incarcerated is that we don't have good programs.
Yeah.
Like, there's a waiting list for GED programs, and we're hearing from partners that are universities or colleges.
Yeah.
It's really hard for them to get in and to bring their education programs in. So if you're just idle and just hanging around, your mental state is going to get worse.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas if you have people around you that are saying, wow, let's work on this together.
Yeah.
Let's help you get your GED. Let's see what you'd be interested in if you were to be able to move on to college. Where are your gifts and talents? So you're looking at the redeeming side of that person as opposed to you're nothing, you don't deserve anything. And why would we waste taxpayers' dollars in helping you, when you screwed up.
Well, because you're wasting taxpayers' dollars and incarcerating.
And yeah, exactly.
That's the answer.
Exactly.
I mean, I know John has this information. I don't necessarily know the numbers, but it's a lot of money to hold someone in
I
jail.
think last time we were talking, it was like $120,000 a year. And when you talk to people about the conditions.
That's 4 times a week in a year.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money without program. You know, I'm not talking your barber shop, your, your anti-violence training or any of that. And a lot of our inmates go through those programs because it allows them to advance in terms of their classification, right? They're gaining points. Do they want to be a barber? No, they don't care about being a barber, but that program, if they go through it, will give them a certain number of points that will go towards whether they're coming up for parole or good behavior time, whatever, good time. But, we could do way better.
Yeah.
We could do way better.
Absolutely. Well, we're gonna take a quick break.
Okay.
And we're gonna drink some coffee, drink some water, get our palates wet, so we can come back for some more salacious conversation
All
with
right,
my
man.
homie, Representative Manny Keefe, and we got a special guest joining us soon as well. We will be right back here on Interviews.